I'm joined now by Sourabh Gupta, a policy specialist at the Institute for China-American Studies. Just your overall thoughts now that the two sessions have come to an end. We talked about Premier Lee's address, his news conference. He really focused on global issues, the importance of globalization, the importance of free trade.
This has also been a theme when President Xi went earlier this year to Switzerland in Geneva. The important fact coming out from these senior Chinese leaders is that they don't talk just about what China can gain from the system. They think now confidently from a systemic perspective, in terms of a global perspective, and what China can bring to the table so that globalization can have better ends. And this is a statement of confidence, I feel, on the part of China's senior leaders.
Confidence, optimism also about the economy. Premier calling China's economy stable, its financial system safe, really sending a message to the world.
Absolutely, he made those points very clear. It was there also in the government work report, which was referenced on March 5th, that the overriding goal is stability. It's important both at the global level and, of course, for the Chinese domestic economy. Within that framework of stability, though, there will be supply-side reform. Much of that will be in cutting overcapacity in Chinese government. And thereafter, if there is requirement, and there will be reform, of course, structural reform. If there's requirement, there will be pump priming aggregate demand. But the point he emphasized strongly was, when you liberalize financial markets, there's always the fear that things can go wrong. China will ensure that it does liberalization at a graduated pace so that in the course of getting richer and more prosperous, you don't end up shooting yourself in the foot. And so stability on financial and structural reform is going to be key in the way China proceeds forward.
China-U.S. relationship also brought up at the very beginning there, Premier Lee warning about a trade war. Talk to us about the timing of the statement, given the fact that the U.S. Secretary of State will be in China this weekend, also coming weeks ahead of what we believe will be a meeting between President Xi Jinping, Donald Trump in the United States.
Very, very important, the timing of these statements. And I would add one more element, which was the United States just put out its trade policy report for 2017 in terms of the things and its objectives in terms of trade policy. And some of those objectives could lead to a clash with China, particularly if the US and China take cases to the World Trade Organization, and then the US, if it does happen to lose those cases, does not adhere to the verdicts and proceeds to go on in its own way. But the important point he was emphasizing was there's far greater possibility and potential for cooperation than fighting each other, and if in a trade and economic context, and if we are to do so, both parties will be hurt, and the US will see significant damage. The US has, President Trump came on a platform of trying to restructure and revive and make America great again, but make America primarily great again as an economic power. And President Trump's goals in that regard will be shattered if he gets into a trade war with China.
And he is trying to fulfill all his campaign promises, as we've seen with some of the other policies that are currently underway here in the United States. How do you see this playing out? I mean, the U.S. is really unknown with this new president.
It's unknown with this president, and I have my fears with this president purely on two particular issues, the trade issue and the immigrant issue, the migrant issue. China does not factor in that immigrant issue, so we can set that aside. But right from the early 1980s, President Trump has been repeating over as a real estate businessman in the 1980s, he has been talking continuously how the United States has been cheated by trade by its Asian partners. And it is that one view which he has carried through with him right to the White House, which he saw as a reason for his success with the electorate. And he has got important people in the White House who support that point of view. Some of them crudely like Mr. Peter Navarro, but some of them in a sophisticated way like Bob Lighthizer, who's going to be the United States Trade Representative. And so he is going to pursue this line. The important thing is, can China give the United States sufficient space so that China, if it really comes to that, Trump can even back down from that. But I fear that they are going to butt heads, and they are going to butt heads early on this issue.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. Sourabh Gupta, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.